My name is Claire, and this lesbian story begins with education, not romance. This is an educational story about how decision-making styles influence emotional safety in lesbian relationships, and why understanding this can prevent many conflicts before they start. For years, I thought arguments were about feelings, but I learned they're often about how decisions are made, not what decisions are chosen. When I met Julia, we were deeply compatible emotionally, but small situations revealed a bigger pattern. I processed decisions slowly, internally. She processed them out loud, immediately. At first, we misunderstood each other. I felt pressured. She felt ignored. This story is educational because many WLW relationships struggle not due to lack of love, but due to unspoken cognitive differences. There are generally two common decision styles: reflective decision makers, who need time and quiet; expressive decision makers, who think through conversation. Neither is wrong. But when partners don't recognize the difference, tension grows. I learned an important lesson early on. Emotional compatibility does not guarantee communication compatibility. Instead of assuming intention, we began naming our styles. I learned to say, "I need time to process." She learned to say, "I'm not demanding an answer, I'm thinking out loud." That simple awareness changed everything. This lesbian story is educational because it shows how clarity reduces emotional friction. When expectations are spoken, resentment has no space to grow. Many women believe love should feel intuitive at all times, but healthy relationships are built on understanding, not mind reading. If you're listening and feeling confused in your own relationship, ask yourself, do we argue about outcomes or about timing? Do we feel safe asking for space or clarity? Love doesn't fail because partners think differently. It fails when those differences are never acknowledged. This is where my story begins, not with passion, but with learning how to communicate before misunderstanding turns into distance. As our relationship continued, the impact of understanding decision-making styles became even clearer. Julia and I began to treat differences as information, not threats. That shift alone reduced emotional tension dramatically. This story is educational because emotional safety is not created by agreement. It's created by predictability and respect. We establish simple communication rules: no urgency without explanation, no silence without reassurance, and no assumptions about intention. When conflict appeared, we paused to identify the real issue. Was this about the decision itself, or about feeling unheard during the process? That question changed how we handled disagreements. One important lesson I want to share is this: healthy lesbian relationships are not emotionally intense all the time. They are emotionally regulated. Regulation doesn't mean suppression. It means knowing when to speak and when to wait. Knowing when reassurance matters more than resolution. Another educational insight is this: when one partner processes internally and the other externally, compromise must happen in pace, not values. I learned to communicate my internal processing clearly instead of withdrawing. Julia learned to give space without interpreting it as rejection. This mutual adjustment created trust. Trust made vulnerability possible. Many lesbian relationships become emotionally exhausting because partners overfunction for each other. We believed love required constant emotional availability. In reality, love requires emotional sustainability. Understanding cognitive differences allowed us to stop personalizing behavior. We no longer asked, "Why are you like this?" We asked, "What do you need right now?" If this story resonates with you, consider this: a relationship should not require timetables. It should require clarity. Love becomes healthier when partners feel safe being honest about their inner process. This lesbian story isn't about perfection. It's about emotional literacy. And emotional literacy is one of the strongest foundations any relationship can have.